Welcome back, everybody. It's Thursday, so of course time for Talking Kids with Dr. Caitlynn. Lexington pediatrician Dr. Caitlynn Iddings is with us this morning as always. Doc, so good to see you.
Yeah.
So today we're going to talk about sudden cardiac death in with kids and what you guys have to think about and do when that very rare event does take place.
Yeah, so in light of the events that happened on Monday with NFL football, cardiac death in young athletes, and that really is kids all the way through, he was only 24.
Exactly,
right? So
yeah.
It's a very rare thing, and what they think, they haven't really actually released what actually happened to him, but what they think happened was something called commotio cordis, and that's even rarer because there are other causes of cardiac death in kids that are more common, more genetic conditions, right? But this essentially was, he got a blow to the chest, it hit just in the right part of his heartbeat, and within milliseconds, that just caused his heart to kind of go into a flutter, which means it wasn't pumping blood out to his brain, so that's why he was able to stand up and then, fell back down. And so recognizing, first of all, when that happens, that it's very, very important to be proactive. Annie was just talking about everyone needs to go learn CPR. You never know when that could save your life. In Kentucky schools, they're supposed to be teaching CPR in health class, which is a requirement for graduation. But learning basic CPR and then also having something called an automatic electrical defibrillator, an AED, is so important. And in the state of Kentucky, there are 12 states in the nation that require AEDs in all schools. Kentucky only really requires it in high schools. And I mean, how often are high schools going to, an elementary school to do a sporting event? Or if your team isn't part of a high school sport, but they're like a travel team, they're going to places that may or may not have these. So it really, really is important when we're talking about this in kids that you act quickly when it happens, because it carries about a 40 to 60% mortality rate. So if you act quickly and you get the basic CPR going, you keep their heart beating, and then you quickly get the heart back into a normal rhythm, the likelihood of them surviving is much higher. And the other important thing is making sure that you keep your child's well checks every year, right? So keeping their physicals, making sure if your kid is not on a team that requires a sports physical for high school, that you're still kind of having those conversations with your pediatrician, because the more common cause of this are more genetic conditions, things like something we call HOCM, which is a hypertrophic cardiomyopathy that is genetic, runs in families. I took care of a patient once. They said, oh yeah, everyone in my family has the curse. And I'm like, well, what's the curse? Well, all the males in my family die at like 35 or 40. They just, drop dead in the field or something.
Oh my gosh.
That's probably a genetic heart condition, right? And so, making sure you're communicating with your pediatrician about this is, something that runs in our family, so that we can get you in to see a cardiologist to get thoroughly evaluated, make sure that it's safe for your kid to be actually playing these high impact sports at baseline.
Yeah. The other thing that's great about these defib machines too is that when I was learning about them for the first time, I thought, well, you can just, what happens? But they detect pulse and they don't fire if.
Right, they're dummy proof, so you just have to listen. It tells you put the pads on the chest, and then you put the pads on, and then it says no shockable, heart rhythm detected, and so then you don't shock, right? And you just continue to go until someone's able to get there and get return to circulation.
Haley and I did one of these courses, and the thing to remember with when you're doing compressions is the song "Staying Alive" from the Bee Gees. You gotta, the bop, 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 staying alive. So to give you a certain baseline rhythm.
Right, you want to go fast and you want to go hard.
So I mean, and this is certainly not the first time this has happened. I mean, cardiac arrest can happen to so many people, but this is such a good time if you aren't up to date on maybe your CPR training. Like you said, you and I have had it, but it's been several years. Even if you are CPR certified, you've taken a class before, now would be a good time to re-up, kind of make sure you remember everything. But also certainly if you've never done it, now would be a great time to get CPR certified.
And these devices, you can get these automatic portable ones that they're like $1,500. So I mean, if you have a kid that's on a travel sports team and you end up, somewhere where they don't have one, having it, could save a kid on your team, it could save a kid on another team, it could save a parent. I mean, these things happen in schools, teachers dropping dead. And so making sure that we really are pushing to have a device in every single school, including elementary and middle school.
Dr. Caitlynn, thank you so much for coming in. We appreciate it as always.